Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez blasted the GOP for believing her 12-year end-of-the-world prediction was real. But in the process, she also made fools of her own supporters. Will she apologize? President Trump unveiled a new immigration plan, and CNN's Jim Acosta immediately went into spin mode. We'll look at that, plus we'll look at Turning Point USA's founder in today's Be a Champion segment. I'm Bobby Eberle. This is a 13-minute news hour.
And God bless the United States of America.
All right, so President Trump unveiled his new immigration plan, and there's a lot to it. It includes border security, border wall construction, but it focuses a lot on legal immigration. He wants to change the system. He wants to make it merit-based. And here's a report from Fox News. The proposal would judge immigrants with a points-based system that would favor highly skilled workers, accounting for age, English proficiency, education, and whether the applicant has a well-paying job offer. Currently, only about 12% of immigrants are admitted based on employment and skills, while 66% are admitted based on family connections inside the U.S. Administration officials estimate those numbers would flip to 57% and 33% respectively under the Trump plan. All right, Trump, again, he calls for increased border security, increased border wall construction. He estimates 400 miles will be constructed by next year. And he also addresses reforms to the asylum process. Here's a report from the Washington Examiner. Our nation has a proud history of affording protection to those fleeing government persecutions. Unfortunately, legitimate asylum seekers are being displaced by those lodging frivolous claims. These are frivolous claims to gain admission into our country, Trump said. And this is where CNN's Jim Acosta just went off. He tweeted this. Trump in Rose Garden speech paints asylum seekers with broad brush, accusing them of misleading immigration authorities at the border. These are frivolous claims. All right, this, of course, is CNN's grandstanding because that's not what Trump said. They're just looking for that knee-jerk reaction to somehow bump their dismal ratings. Here is a counter from Alex Griswold at the Washington Free Beacon, who tweeted that Acosta's claims was just plain false, and here's Griswold's news report. But Trump did almost the opposite of what Acosta said, stressing the importance of legitimate asylum seekers and distinguishing them from illegitimate asylum seekers. These are frivolous claims was said about the specific class of illegitimate asylum seekers. We must also restore the integrity of our broken asylum system, Trump said. Our nation has a proud history of affording protection to those fleeing government persecutions. So again, there's a lot to the immigration plan. We'll cover more of it. It didn't address DACA. It didn't address limits to immigration, the caps or anything like that. So it's got some conservatives angry. But for what it did address, it is definitely a good start in the right direction. And we'll see what comes from it. I want to do a follow-up now on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and our show from Wednesday because you guys jumped in the comments and you brought up some really great points, and I want to follow up with that. And for those of you who missed Wednesday's show, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said her 12-year prediction for the end of the world was actually just a joke. And if you missed some of her previous statements, here's just a little refresher.
Millennials and people and Gen Z and all these folks that come after us are looking up, and we're like, the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't address climate change. And your biggest issue is your biggest issue is how are we going to pay for it?
And then she had this one from Instagram.
How many years until the world ends again? We have 12 years left to cut emissions by at least 50%, if not more. And for everyone who wants to make a joke about that, you may laugh, but your grandkids will not.
All right, so given that, here's what she tweeted the other day. She said, this is a technique of the GOP to take dry humor and sarcasm literally and fact check it, like the world ending in 12 years thing. You'd have to have the social intelligence of a sea sponge to think it's literal. But the GOP is basically Dwight from The Office, so who knows? All right, so see, I focused on the exact tweet, what she had said in the past, and blasting the GOP for believing it. But you guys pointed out that there's more to it than that. It's not just the GOP believing it, it's her supporters. She has support out there from, men and women and children. Now they're off base, they're misguided, they're wrong, but they believed her. And I can't help but think about those children that showed up at Dianne Feinstein's office pitching the Green New Deal. Check this out.
Hi, everybody. Oh, tell me where you're from.
Well,
We're from all over.
Okay.
all over the Bay.
All right, and tell me what you're doing here.
We are trying to ask you to vote yes on the Green New Deal.
Okay.
And then you have this 16-year-old in the group adding this.
We
your
have come to a
copy.
point where our earth is dying, literally, and it is going to be a pricey and ambitious plan that is needed to deal with the magnitude of that issue. And so we're here asking you to vote yes on the resolution for the Green New Deal.
And of course, we have this little kid who delivers the punchline.
Some scientists have said that we have 12 years to turn this around.
So, it's not the GOP who are played for chumps, it's her own supporters. So what is she going to do about it? Is she going to apologize? I challenge her right now to apologize to those kids and her supporters for believing what she said is real. The whole Green New Deal, the whole emphasis was to do something dramatic because we only had 12 years left. Now she says she's just joking. She owes those kids an apology. So folks, let's end Friday on a good note, all right? I want to talk to you about Turning Point USA. And you're probably familiar with the organization. They're very active in high schools and colleges, spreading the conservative message. And here is a kind of a part from their mission statement on their website. It says, Turning Point USA's mission is to educate students about the importance of fiscal responsibility, free markets, and limited government through nonpartisan debates, dialogue, and discussion. Turning Point USA believes every young person can be enlightened to true free market values. All right, so when you think about Turning Point USA, you likely think of Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, people you see on TV a lot, and going out there in the field to these campuses and talking. But I want to talk to you today about Bill Montgomery. Now, he is in his late 70s, and he is the machine behind Turning Point USA. This guy has done it all. He has served in the military, both active and in the reserves. He built successful businesses in sales and marketing. He has built a successful publishing company. He helped on Richard Nixon's re-election campaign. And through it all, even now, even after doing all of this stuff, he still wants to help. And one of his prime motivations was to help stop this left-wing indoctrination of our kids. And we have Bill with us today. And Bill, it is great to have you on the show today.
Very happy to be here.
What brought you to Turning Point USA? What was your motivation behind that?
Well, it was purely by accident. The former Attorney General of Illinois in 2012 had decided to put on an event for 400 high school students to show them the difference between Occupy Wall Street people and Tea Party people. So he put on mock demonstrations, and then he had 3 speakers from each group speak. Unfortunately, the speakers weren't all that good. They meant to be, but we were all falling asleep. And so it was funny. As a 7th speaker comes up to the podium, I look at the clock and I say, oh, hope it isn't going to be long. So he started speaking, and I couldn't believe what I saw with the audience. I watched 400 kids from falling asleep to wide awake. And that was within 20 seconds because I looked back at that clock. So afterwards, I went up to him and I said, you don't know me, Charlie, but you can't go to college. And he said, why? And I said, simply, you've got to start an organization to get this message out to young people across the country. And that's the beginning of Turning Point USA with Charlie Kirk.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, yeah, you're talking about Charlie Kirk. So so you were inspired. I mean, it sounds like you were being put to sleep, and then all of a sudden he shook you and you were ready to go. But how did he react to that?
It was not that hard to convince Charlie because he had a passion to get a message out to young people that the Constitution, free markets, were very, very important. Capitalism, a major, major factor in the success of this country and for the future of the country, for that matter. And so that's how we really got our foundation started. We reached out to some people we knew in the Tea Party to help us get started there. And it was one step right after another. We started college chapters. We had supporters giving us money. And we started with very little, but right now we're a huge organization. And it was all because of Charlie.
Was it your motivation to reach the people in high schools and college? Was that like the motivation, part of the mission statement from day one?
Absolutely. Because if you don't reach the young people, you have no future.
As you've been growing, what's been some of the surprises or I'm sure you felt pushback or resistance. Can you kind of describe that as far as your reaction? I mean, was it greater than you thought, or was it about what you expected?
Well, the resistance didn't come from the young people as much as it came from the universities, colleges, and even high schools, and the professors.
So what's next for you, and what's next for Turning Point USA?
Well, Turning Point's future is based upon getting more and more students aware of what's going on in the world and understanding the principles of our Constitution, our Declaration of Independence, and free markets and capitalism. We're fighting a whole ideological way of thinking that is totally wrong, in my opinion, and will destroy the country ultimately. So it's a long battle.
Yeah, it is for sure. And, we're going to be keeping up. We're looking forward to talking to you again, talking to Charlie, and really helping promote Turning Point USA. Because like I said, it hits close to home when I have kids in that age range. And, you can only do so much as a parent. You can do a lot. But when you see the environment that they're in and how much time you're not around them, and only hoping now that you've raised them correctly, it really is nice to have you and Charlie and everyone associated with Turning Point USA involved in helping the next generation.
And that inspires me to not only help kids know the difference between liberal and conservative and the values of which the conservative movement wants them to understand, but the families and the parents have to be more aware of what is being taught in universities and high schools. Because if they're not, they're going to lose their children to this way of thinking.
Right. You're absolutely right. And Bill, I so appreciate it. We're pulling for you. If there's anything I can do to help you or Turning Point USA, let me know. But I appreciate you coming on the show today.
Oh, you're welcome. Glad to. Anytime I can come back to tell you anything that you need to know or want to hear, I'd be happy to do so.
Great. We'll look forward to it. Thanks a lot, Bill.
All right. Thank you.
So what a great guy and a great service that he's doing for our country. He is very fitting of our Be a Champion segment and recognition and profile. And folks, if you guys have folks that you think would be a great Be a Champion, let me know. Contact me through our contact link in the description and let me know. And I want to thank you guys. Since Wednesday, we have grown by over 600 subscribers just since the last show. It's all because of you. So please tell your friends, please hit the subscribe button. And when you do, hit the bell so you'll be notified. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you Monday. I'm Bobby Eberly. This is a 13-Minute News Hour.